Dan, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I heard that we're neighbors.
We're neighbors. We live a few blocks from each other.
Hey.
I know.
Great. Is anyone else here from Brooklyn Heights? Anybody? Nobody? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Where are you
Another
at?
neighbor.
We're all going to meet at Hanko's afterward
Yeah.
and get a bubble tea.
Well, someone was asking me to describe this movie, and it's very, very difficult. Even if you've seen the trailer, it's kind of hard to describe the movie. I said it's an apocalyptic stoner comedy, but then I thought maybe that's not the way you want it described at all. So what would you say?
If that gets people interested, yeah, that's a good one. Does that sound interesting to people? An apocalyptic stoner comedy? You like that? All right. That sounds good. Yeah, whatever hooks them. I like that. It's a, you know, we're smoking copious amounts of ganja in the movie, definitely. But it's not. I think it's more complex than just a stoner comedy.
Yeah.
Brings up a lot of life questions for the hero of the story, Warren.
And so there's a lot of 2012 end of the world theorizing in this movie. So how did the idea come about? When is this a long movie in the making? When did you start thinking about it?
Yeah, I started thinking about doing this movie back 2010. I was getting married, and I was sorry, ladies, and I was stressing out about that, you know, and a lot of people were stressing out about the world and what was going to happen in the future, and I just felt like this really volatile energy that was going on around then. And I wanted to capture that in a movie. I wanted to capture that in like a documentary. And so I basically, you know, drew from my own life, and then I started collecting. We didn't have a lot. I said I went to my buddy Michael Canzanero, and he's the co-director, co-writer of the movie. I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was. To make the movie, I was just like, I'll just go out of pocket. We'll start shooting the first part of the movie, which is documentary, mockumentary style. We'll collect all these interviews from all these wise men and women along the way, and that'll be the first part of the movie. And then if we get gold, then we'll raise more money, and you know, we'll make the second half of the movie, which is like suddenly you're in Alice in Wonderland. Or like it's like Wizard of Oz, like suddenly it's color for the second half of the movie, which was my big vision for this. And of course, you know, we had a limited budget, so my grandiose ending had to be, you know, cut several times. But the nature of the movie was just so organic, and we just said full steam ahead. We'll just start shooting and see what happens. And we had this outline for the script, which was essentially like the modern prophet journey, which is my character Warren bumps into the guy with the end is near sign and gets like obsessed with that. Like, what does it mean? Is the world gonna end or is it not gonna end? And like, what the hell is gonna happen? And you know, he just gets obsessed with that, and he goes off the deep end trying to find the answer. And when he goes down the rabbit hole, he emerges on the other side a changed man. He becomes Don Peyote. He becomes this street prophet. He becomes the guy with the end is near sign. But except it's a different message. It's like a peace is here sign. It's like spreading joy and happiness and talking about embracing change. And he becomes his own version of the street prophet, which is something that I've always been interested, the story that I've always been interested in telling. And now I'm going to breathe.
That was good, though.
You like that?
Yeah, that was
I've been
good.
talking all day about this.
Well,
I'm
I think
warmed up.
One thing that strikes people when they see the trailer definitely is, whoa, wait, Anne Hathaway's in it? Like the cast every few minutes in this movie, like there's
like,
someone you
what the
recognize. You're like, wait, what are they doing?
Yeah.
So,
a lot of cameos.
First of all, Anne Hathaway, how did that happen, and when did that happen?
It's so funny. That's why you have to smoke a joint or something, or like have a drink before the movie, because then when Anne Hathaway comes on, you're not as shocked. But Anne is like a friend of mine. She's like an angel in my life. Okay, she handed me my Tony Award, and ever since then she's just been like, oh my God, she's like this person that changed my life. And like, and we have the same manager. And I talked to her about the movie. I said, this is the concept. You get to come in and you get to improvise and you get to do something you don't normally do. And she's like this, like, straight out of like punk rock Matrix or something. She enters my dream and downloads a tremendous amount of information to the character in my movie. And it's a really fun, wild scene. And she is really hot and awesome in it. And I think that's what a lot of people that came on board, like Josh Duhamel and Jay Baruchel, they became friends, but they also saw an opportunity to do something different and get a little more raw and dirty and play and have some fun.
Well, that leads in well to the first clip we're going to show.
Whoa.
with you and Josh.
Oh, okay.
Well, also in this movie is Topher Grace, who plays your agent.
Yeah. Not Dan Fogler's agent.
And yes, and there's a part where he sort of says, "You've got to stop doing all these indie movies. You've got to stop." Is any of that taken from your real life? Where does that come from?
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of the reason I made the movie was because I wanted to stretch my muscles, as an actor and do other things, and because it's like I can't keep doing like Balls of Fury movies, for the rest of my life. I mean, it's fun, but I want to expand my, show more of a spectrum of my abilities. So, so that's why a huge reason that I wanted to do the movie. Wait a minute, what was the actual question again?
Oh, it was just about Topher Grace and how.
Oh yeah, Topher Grace.
Because he's talking about
so
working
Topher Grace.
for
So that
Dan
moment
Fogler.
in the movie where we break the fourth or fifth wall, we break some wall, which is like an homage to like Annie Hall in a lot of ways, where you see Topher and he's playing Dan Fogler's agent, and that was me and he's just like, and it's like it comes at a very trippy part of the movie. So that was me saying, okay, my agent is going to see this part of the movie and just be like, what the hell is wrong with Fogler? And that because it gets very out there. I break the fourth wall. I'm talking straight to the audience as my character, and my character goes crazy and he starts noticing the audience in the theater, and he starts talking, and I'm like, hey man, this is my life, you're watching. And then suddenly we have Topher come in as that's Dan Fogler's agent, watching the movie, just being like, wow, whoa. And I'm trying to get him to, do more mainstream stuff. It's like, it's hard to be this guy's agent sometimes. That's me just thinking that's me looking at the movie outside of the movie as myself, and I thought that would be hysterical, and it's a hysterical moment in the movie. It's very akin to an Annie Hall non sequitur, and if that answered the question.
I think so. And I know you said there's some footage in it where it seems like it is a little bit like a documentary. Did you speak to real people who had thoughts about the world ending, and how did you find these kind of characters?
The movie is on the cusp of reality and fiction. He's collecting all these interviews from all these wise men at the beginning of the movie, trying to find these answers. And you have Jay Baruchel in there, who's an actor, is playing this conspiracy nut who was downloading all this information onto my character. But then you also have Daniel Pinchbeck, who wrote the book, 2012, who is the expert on it. And you have experts who are interviewed, and you also have obviously people playing experts.
And I think are some faces blurred of people, and yeah.
People's faces are blurred in there. And the first, because it was so organic and experimental. We were just rolling the camera at this party and improvising scenes. So there are people in the movie that were like, where the fuck is that person? We don't know where they are anymore. We never got them to sign anything, so we can't put them in the movie. It was really guerrilla. And there were people that, because it's experimental. It's very 60s style movie making. There's, there's smoking. There's all sorts of stuff going on, and some people don't want to be seen on camera with that stuff. They'll regret it later. What happened to the reverb? Come on! Sorry.
And you shot it. Did you shoot it entirely in New York?
We shot a great portion of it in New York, but we went to Costa Rica. That didn't make it into the movie. We went to L.A. That is some of it. Some of it's in the movie, but a lot of it, about 80% of it's in New York.
And some out your apartment window.
Yeah, some out of my. So you get a nice, delicious view of Manhattan from my apartment window, from in the movie.
And I think, are we ready? Okay, I think we're ready.
Do it. You like that? Nice.
And in the movie, you play a guy who writes comics in real life.
Yeah, graphic novels.
Yeah, you have written at least one graphic novel. Have you written more stuff?
Two. I got 2 graphic novels out. Volume 1 and 2 of Moon Lake, which is with Archaea/Boom, and that's like Twilight Zone on THC. Do you see a running theme here?
Maybe a little. What sort of comics do you read?
Oh man, I have such a wide taste. I mean, I'll read whatever's in front of me, really. But big influence on the movie, Grant Morrison, and I came across a speech he was giving for Disinfo that like blew my mind during the research of this movie. And his book, The Invisibles, is has a lot to do with some of the concepts in the movie. I love everything from Wolverine and Batman and to The Invisibles to I love Crumb. I love everything. I don't know. I just love the art form. It's really close to movies, and it's like storyboards. And I don't know. I've just been reading comics and playing with like toys and stuff since I'm a kid, and I'm just a big old kid still.
Do you have a favorite comic shop in New York?
Oh yeah, I go to Forbidden Planet on Broadway. I've been going there since I'm like a little kid. Like birthdays, my aunt would bring me and my brother there, and we go to Ray's Pizza and get a slice, and then Ray's Original. It's not even there anymore. Ray's Original, which is really sad. But I go there, and then we go to Forbidden Planet and spend the afternoon, and I just come home with a stack of comic books. And I got storage units of comic books. Yeah.
Wow.
It's that wild and crazy with the comics. I was in a movie. Oh yeah, you're having like an epiphany? No? You're having like a whoa. I get that a lot. They're like, hey man, you're just like my brother. He's from Brooklyn too? We probably pass every single day.
I'm sure we pass almost every single day in Brooklyn Heights. Well, we have one more clip. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. You guys ready? Yeah, it ain't Cheech and Chong, that's for sure. I love Cheech and Chong. This is more complex.
I think that might be my dream, to have Wallace Shawn play my therapist.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh man, he's interested in the subject matter. I think called him up and I just asked him to be in it, and he dug the passion, and I said you get to improvise and play, and we get to make the character together, and so he was down. And I've always just been a huge fan of his. I think he felt that, and he had a ball. Everyone. This movie was made out of amazing favors and synchronicities and amazing performances, and he. There's a scene that got cut out of the movie that was awesome. We cut it out for time, but we got him to say, "Warren, come here, my boy. Try this vaporizer." And just hearing him say "vaporizer" was like one of the. I could just tick that off my bucket list right there. Yeah.
And there's kind of, this isn't sort of giving too much away, but there is a great musical number, and like you pack in so many things in this movie, and it seems like was that tough to make happen? Did you have to enlist some friends to come in and dance with you?
Yeah, we pulled some real resources, got some dancers in there. He loses his mind, and he suddenly feels like he's, inside a music video, But that's kind of like Don Peyote's superpower, that when he starts getting in touch with his, spiritual side, and he's just very passionate, suddenly he breaks into song and starts dancing, and it's so overwhelmingly powerful that other people have to join in. So that suddenly there's, I had an end of the movie. I had an alternate end of this movie that was for a bigger budget, where, the earth shook, and Woodstock like breaks out all over the world. It's like, So that's kind of the message in the movie, that Don Peyote comes along with the message of durable peace, and people start to see peace kind of a badass rock and roll kind of way, and it spreads, and he turns the tide, for the better, for the future. He's the 100th monkey.
And I guess my last question before we see if anybody in the audience has a question is, what did you learn from making this movie? Not only about filmmaking, because you shot this big movie on a small budget, but also just did it change you in terms of philosophically what you thought about the topics that you cover? Yeah.
Really one of the main themes in the movie is that fear can consume you, and if you let it consume you, and if you start to worry about things that you can't control, like the future, and you bring that home with you, then that makes your home life unravel, and then it just has this ripple effect where you're just only able to add to the chaos. And if you're able to embrace the change, you're able to cruise with it, then to quote Mr. Speedlevich, who's also in the movie, if you're able to do that, then you can really be in a position where you can change things for the better. And it's really just a big positive message. And that, that was a huge message that I learned. I was very angry and confused and concerned about the future in the beginning of the making of the movie. And now I'm a much happier, mellower, chiller guy, because I know that I'm able to go with the flow, and I'm able to influence my surroundings in a positive way by staying positive.
Well, thank you very much.
Bam!
And, if anybody in the audience has a question, you can raise your hand, and this guy with a microphone will come right to you.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a question about the editing. I was wondering if you did it as you went along, like just because of how you raised the money and how you sort of shot it, if you were editing as you went, or if you had to sort of amass all your footage and then wait at the end to see where the story was and what you had, or if it was a little bit of both, if you brought someone else in, just sort of how that all went down.
Yeah, we had a couple editors. And it ended up with the guy named Dan Bush, who was really intelligent about it, and he cut it together and figured out the whole narrative with it, the narration with it, and but we were halfway through the movie. We were editing the movie, and we were halfway through it. We didn't have an ending, and I went off and I did Scenic Route, and I met Josh Duhamel, and I said, you got to come and be in this movie with me, and we got to use your mohawk, and we became friends. And he said, yeah, hell yeah, I'll do it. So it was fully organic. We were making it as we were going along, writing scenes for people. And then we just found a lot of it in editing. Like I said, we went to Costa Rica. I went there for a week, and we had these amazing, gold, interviewed amazing people. None of it's in the movie. And that was just the journey that I was on trying to make this movie. I was just collecting all this information. I was like, whatever sticks, sticks. But we're on this journey, come hella high water, essentially. Did that answer your question? Cool, yeah.
Hi.
You said there's a lot of improv, so I was wondering what kind of basic statement you gave all of the actors, or saying this is my basic premise, and just kind of go off. How much did you give them? How much was really?
We wrote a script. I wrote a script that was epic, and obviously it got chopped down because of budget reasons. But we would hand people a script, a scene written, and say do this, and then say now make it your own. And some scenes I would write with people, and then some scenes we'd do it like Curb Your Enthusiasm or like Waiting for Guffman. We say this is what has to happen in the scene. I like Abel Ferrara's in the movie. He makes a cameo, which is awesome. He plays a cab driver, and I just said to him, improvise, do whatever the hell you want. You're just pissed off that we're asking you to take us all the way, up north at this terrible time of night, and that's it. That's all I told him, and he just we got a great scene out of him. Anne Hathaway, I gave her a couple lines to do, and she did them brilliantly, and then she just went off on her own. She just brought whatever this whole conspiracy rant to the table that I said, oh my God, yes, just keep rolling. So I came to the movie with the philosophy of, since I was in it and also co-directing, I wanted to make sure, my philosophy was like say yes 99% of the time, because they're going to show up and they're going to be excited and to put their creative stamp on something, whether it's a costume person or an actor, and that's how we got gold 9 times out of 10 from me saying yes, and I said no a lot, but the majority of the time I said yes, and I think that people really loved being in that environment.
Do you believe that good intentions and the message are more important than the actual talent that you bring into a movie? Which is more, in other words, which is more important? Good intentions and the message that you're trying to deliver, or the talent and the actual movie being an actual good movie?
Well, you can't deliver the message without the talent. You have to have you have to have people that can walk the walk and actually try and move you to the point where you're thinking about the major themes in the movie. So it's like a chicken and the egg kind of question. I think the most important thing is the message, because if you're walking away and you're not thinking, this movie makes you think and it makes you talk about what's going on in the world, and big questions come up after you leave this movie. There's so many movies out there where you leave and the first thing people say is, do you like them? Yeah, good this time. You like that guy? Yeah, he was right. Okay, you want to get a cab and get some pie? And that's it. And there's too many. It's just like, if you're going to spend your time and watch something, it should at least affect you in some way.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Excellent, thank you. So you said that you have this Twilight Zone-esque type of thing on steroids, which sounds awesome.
Yeah, Twilight Zone
really?
On THC. That's my book, Moon Lake.
Oh, it's a book.
Yeah, it's a graphic novel with Archaea. Go check it out, man. It's pretty trippy. It's an homage to all the things I stayed up late watching when I was a kid, like Twilight Zone or like Amazing Stories or Tales from the Crypt. And it's this one freaky place up north where all of these different strange events happen from it's like a conspiracy theorist's wet dream, essentially. There's aliens, there's Sasquatch, It's got everything.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for coming in, by the way.
Oh, my pleasure.
So my question was about, it's not related to the film, but it's about you. So I think one of your first appearances on TV was 30 Seconds of Fame. Yeah. And you did... you like a Al Pacino impersonator. First of all, I was gonna ask you to do one.
That's Al Pacino with.
That's it, right?
That's it. He's got cats. No, that was me stealing Spacey's impression. But that was yeah, man. I used to do that in my act. I used to do in my comedy act, and I did a lot of things on this road to get here, and I still want to do more stand-up, but I did this bit in my act, which was the 30 Seconds to Fame bit, which was Al Pacino auditioning for the part of Little Orphan Annie.
Yeah, did I take you back a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, man. I was like, that was like the first time I was on TV.
I think that may have answered my second question, which was how you got onto the show.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
with the comedy.
Yeah, there was auditions, and I went in there and I just did that for them, and made them pee their pants.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. It was terrible. Oh, I gotta work on that.
All right. Well, good. I look forward to seeing it. And I enjoyed Don Peyote. I think
Thanks.
that you guys should definitely check it out. It will make you think, and it'll make you laugh.
It's out
And-
on VOD now and on
Yes.
iTunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dan. This
Yes.
is great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's a good one. Does that sound interesting to people? An apocalyptic stoner comedy? You like that? All right. That sounds good. Yeah, whatever hooks them. I like that. It's a, you know, we're smoking copious amounts of ganja in the movie, definitely. But it's not. I think it's more complex than just a stoner comedy.
Yeah.
Brings up a lot of life questions for the hero of the story, Warren.
And so there's a lot of 2012 end of the world theorizing in this movie. So how did the idea come about? When is this a long movie in the making? When did you start thinking about it?
Yeah, I started thinking about doing this movie.
Dan, how are you?
Oh, wonderful. I heard that we're neighbors.
We're neighbors. We live a few blocks from each other.
Hey.
I know.
Great. Is anyone else here from Brooklyn Heights? Anybody? Nobody? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Where are you
Another
at?
neighbor.
We're all gonna meet at Hanko's afterward
Yeah.
and get a bubble tea.
Well, someone was asking me to describe this movie, and it's very, very difficult. Even if you've
Oh.
seen the trailer, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to describe the movie. I said it's an apocalyptic stoner comedy, but then I thought maybe that's not the way you want it described at all. So what would you say?
If that gets people interested, my grandiose ending had to be, cut several times. But the nature of the movie was just so organic, and we just said full steam ahead. We'll just start shooting and see what happens. And we had this outline for the script, which was essentially like the modern prophet journey, which is my character Warren bumps into the guy with the end is near sign and gets like obsessed with that. Like, what does it mean? Is the world gonna end or is it not gonna end? And like, what the hell is gonna happen? And he just gets obsessed with that, and he goes off the deep end trying to find the answer. And when he goes down the room, and he's the co-director, co-writer of the movie. I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was to make the movie. I was just like, I'll just go out of pocket. We'll start shooting the first part of the movie, which is documentary, mockumentary style. We'll collect all these interviews from all these wise men and women along the way, and that'll be the first part of the movie. And then if we get gold, then we'll raise more money and we'll make the second half of the movie, which is like suddenly you're in Alice in Wonderland. Or like it's like Wizard of Oz, like suddenly it's color for the second half of the movie, which was my big vision for this. And of course, we had a limited budget, so back 2010, I was getting married, and I was sorry, ladies, and I was stressing out about that, and a lot of people were stressing out about the world and what was going to happen in the future. And I just felt like this really volatile energy that was going on around then. And I wanted to capture that in a movie. I wanted to capture that in like a documentary. And so I basically, drew from my own life. And then I started collecting. We didn't have a lot. I said I went to my buddy Michael Canzanero.